All right, so what we're going to do is talk about what is lead follow-up. So first of all, I'd just love to hear from you guys. What would be your thought of when you hear lead follow-up?
It's like 30, 60 touch, so like
I should get you a mic, huh? No, you're good. Just because. So there won't be.
So I think it's like the 36 touch. So like just keeping top of mind on those clients. So in the future, when they do decide to do a real estate move, then they'll think of you. So they'll reach out to you and like know that you're a real estate agent and not just forget about you if you just talk to them once.
Yep. Yeah. And that's going to be where one of the things we're going to talk about is the 36 touch. And I love that's been brought up already and you have that in your mind. Anyone on Zoom have an opinion of what following up with the lead is? All right. So following up with a lead, it is your systematic way, and I say systematic because have you guys already gone through the six principles? That correlate the six principles of an entrepreneur, the ones that are on the board. Okay, one of them is being E to P, right? Moving from an entrepreneurial person to a purposeful person. So, for example, the beginning of my career, I was definitely much more of an entrepreneur. I'm okay at talking to people. I can go out of my way and be like, hey, I want to do business with you, and I can get those kind of things done. Being purposeful is really where you start pushing and becoming to that next level of being systematic, having it where you have systems that are going to make it so your time is better spent, right? Having it so that you don't drop the ball on a handful of things. And this right here, what you're seeing on the board is the life of the lead is where it really becomes important. Because real estate, unlike a lot of other things that you could sell, right? There's a lot of things out there that we can be good salesmen on. But real estate is one of those ones that people don't do it very often. It's not like you're going to have a monthly subscription of them ordering their protein powder from you, right? This right here is very much where it's, hey, it's going to be a 7 to 10 years on average of somebody is going to be buying. Which with that math, people that you know, you need to be staying in touch with so that for those 7 to 10 years, they know, hey, you are my agent, and when the time is right, we are connecting and making things happen, right? And that's where you can kind of see this part of where they're moving. There's a buildup. There's a spot where they're not thinking about real estate whatsoever. It starts getting onto their mind, so on and so forth. And you want to be in the right place at the right time and do it purposefully and very much being in that right spot. So you have a handful of different things. You have, and up here you can see, I probably should shrink the screen. Okay, so as you can see, there's a handful of different things of business, right? There's possible business, probable business, and profitable business. Ultimately, you need to be taking care of each of these categories. And that's where this right here of the conversation of how do we follow up with leads comes into play. Because we need to know, hey, as a business person, what am I going to do? And that's where the 36 touch comes in, is one of the big tools. But how am I going to make sure to be in the right spot at the right time for all of these people? Okay, so this right here is a good quote. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to read it. It says, if you aren't first or second in their mind, you probably won't get their business, right? If you're the third place, you're not going to win. That's how it is. If you're first or second, if the first person drops the ball or doesn't answer, you're the next one to call, right? You want to be their person that they think of in real estate, right? Ideally, you are their first. But if you can't be their first, be their second and continue to be building that relationship and being in that next spot. It's not a problem, truthfully, to be in second. Like if you have a whole bunch of people who still are like have their agent, but they're happy to have you be their second, that's not a bad spot. You're going to get business from it, right? Just not every time, but you'll get more business from it. Okay, so I kind of want to hear, and let's start, like, you guys have now gotten into this concept. What are some things that you're thinking of that are ahas? And we'll go through that, but I want to hear at least one aha from what we've already talked about that you're realizing that you need to make sure to be doing.
So I think, like you just said, being the second isn't a bad thing because you never know. It's better than not having like a client that thinks of you as a second place. Because like I've been door knocking, and so I should start adding that into my thing. Sometimes they say, "Oh, I already have an agent," but if I add that into it, saying, "Oh, okay, can I be like your second option just in case in the future if the first agent is too busy or isn't doing real estate anymore?" I should start adding that into it, and I can get more contact information that way as well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're now you remove yourself as the threat, right? They're wanting to say, oh, okay, like, yeah, I still have Joe over here, Joe Schmo, that is my first person, but this kid's willing to be the second place. Like, okay, let's build a relationship. How often, of course, we've seen the reports, you guys have probably already like heard about it. A lot of the times people forget who their first agent was because there isn't that follow-up, and it's a surprising amount that I think it was like, isn't it like 5% of people who use their first agent use them again for their next transaction? Yeah. I can't remember the exact number, so it's just like any statistic that I'm going to say today is kind of made up, but close. But overall, that's the thing, is people don't remember who they used. It's whoever is right in front of them right now. So good. Yeah, I love that aha. Thank you. Any others?
Hi, this is Erica.
Hey, Erica.
Yeah, it's a business of relationships. And hopefully you do it the first time so good that they want to think about you the second time that they need to buy a house.
Right. And I agree with that. And that's what's so alarming with that statistic, that it's amazing how many people don't. Why do you think that it is that statistic that so many people don't? Because I think that also the statistic was showing that like it's like 80% of people were happy with the first person.
Yeah, I guess it's paying attention to what they really want, to what they need, and do the best you can.
Good.
And build a relationship. I seen that.
Yep, which is perfect because it really is. It's a relationship game, but it's a long-term relationship game. And that's where I think a lot of people are so transactional based in this business that they don't do what's necessary for the time that they're not active clients. A lot of people are really good at dealing with their active clients, but then after they close a deal, they don't think about, oh, I should reach out to so and so and celebrate their half-year anniversary on their house. Like,
Yes.
they don't do those extra steps to stay on top of mind, and we are human beings and we forget, right?
Thanks.
All right, so let's go into now how systematically, and I'm using that word because that's the whole goal here, is how systematically do we get to the point where we follow up? So ultimately, and this is kind of where, like we've already mentioned, one of them is the 36 touch. But we're going to go into depth on each of these and kind of when's the right situation. And you'll see it has on top of it, it has leads, and it has a blank, and then it has contacts, right? There is a different way to go about this with each one. And I want to kind of go into it in depth so that you can make sure to know, hey, how and where do you get to that next level of relationship? Okay, so leads. Who can tell me what the definition of a lead is?
A lead can be like someone that has a thought of doing something in real estate right now or in the future, and it comes up in your life. So like you just know someone that is thinking of doing real estate in the future.
Perfect. Anyone else want to add to that or subtract from that? Jokingly, I'm going to say a lead is anyone who has a pulse, right? I mean, it's
Okay.
someone who has a pulse and has the potential of buying and selling and somebody that you like. I always say, and I don't work with jerks. So, of course, someone that I'm not going to add in or try and help is a jerk, right? But a lead is somebody who has that potential of buying and selling, right? This right here, the 19 to connect, is a process through over the first year that you meet somebody that you should go through to build that relationship. So let's go through each of these in detail. The first one you see up there is 4 touches, quarterly phone calls. Fascinating enough, you'll notice that this is the same thing on a 36 touch, right? Is a minimum of 4 phone calls. Why do you think that right there is at the top and it's on both?
I think it's just important to be able to like talk to them, like doesn't have to be like in face, but like just reaching out to them and hearing their voice and stuff, just so they remember who you are, and like being actual like caring about them, not just like sending an email of like something that you can send out to everybody, but actually talking to them and like talking about what's going on in their life is more like seems more personal than just sending out an email.
Yeah, totally. Yep, it's definitely a higher level of communication, right? The ones that are higher than that would be very much like a in-person kind of visit. That's really one of the biggest ones that's on higher than that is that kind of communication. But that right there is going to be one of the most important. Honestly, if you took anything else away from Ignite and it was just, hey, I'm going to call everyone 4 times a year, and that was the only thing that you took away, you will do okay in business. Everything else that's up here is going to help make that stronger, more efficient, more effective, so you're not lost in the weeds. Okay, so this next one that's up here that you'll see is 12 touches. So this right here gives you some ideas. This could be a monthly email, a newsletter, a market report, a video. I personally, from all of them, I love the market report the most because it's pretty specific to them. If they have a house that they live in, then now you can show them what's going on around their house every month. It's decently entertaining, right? The open rate is going to be a little higher on that. Videos are very good because they're engaging, right? But that is just different and depending on how you want to do it, right? The next one it has on here is two touches, promotional direct mail, such as a magnet, calendar, printed. This is something that I would say is more of like keepable. Something that they can hold on to that they can now see throughout the next bit of time. The reason that this is so nice is this right here is something that can keep you on top of mind more throughout the year, right? And the last one is one touch. And this right here is an annual event. So this right here, there's a lot of things that you could do, right? There's a couple ideas up there and to get it so that you can figure that out. I mean, that could even be, it's not up on there. You could even have it just be like a seminar, right? A wealth building seminar that you're putting on or something. The hard part is how are you going to get these people there so that you can really connect and start building that relationship. Questions on this one for the 19 touches?
Just that maybe social media helps a lot also, right? To be out there.
Repeat that. It was just hard enough to hear you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, definitely social media helps you like be out there.
Yeah, no, there's truth to that for sure. Yeah, and that's where social media, and you'll notice social media is not on any of these, but that right there is what is going to crank you above and beyond this point, right? You could even have it be a systematic touch. Like I know a lot of people, even in team meeting this last week, they were talking about how they go through and they correlate it with their phone call, right? But that same-ish week that they are doing the phone call, they're also going on and commenting and liking one of their posts, right? To make sure that there's now another thing that kind of tied them to, hey, remember me, right? But you're 100% right. If someone can see that you're also doing stuff and see it on that, that is another way that they're having some form of touch. So I love it. Okay, so let's kind of go into some of this. So this right here is where, okay, what are some reasons that you should do this and this? And I want to go through to see what your guys' thoughts are on these questions. Or even just think about it, right? But the first one right here is, what are my strengths when working with people? How can I adopt the touches of 19 to connect to represent me? So from looking at that and the question, what's something that you guys can do that from one of your strengths? We heard social media.
With me, like, so I just recently started doing like the neighborhood nurtures. So when I'm door knocking and they say they're not interested in selling or anything right now, and I still am able to get their contact info, then I can let them know like, hey, I can still put you on a neighborhood nurture so you know what's going on around your neighborhood, on like what's happening, what house they're getting listed or getting sold. And that will keep me on that 19 touch that you were saying, like that monthly update on what's going on in their neighborhood.
Love it. And I think like I mentioned, those kind of reports are a pretty good open rate, right? And we all know KW Command has a pretty sweet one that is nice to set up, right? Anyone else? Perfect. Okay, let's go into this next one because I just kind of want to go through these pretty quick. What are some reasons I might have for contacting a lead? What are some touches to do before and after a phone call?
I gotta learn that. What? Because I am amazing at talking to people, calling them, connecting with people. But yeah, in this business, I need to know exactly what kind of things I have to do or say.
I love it. So it sounds like you need to understand a little bit more of the scripts so that you can know and feel comfortable and confident, even though because you feel like you're a great communicator.
One thing that I learned from one of the Ignites a few weeks ago, or days ago, um, knowing like what the rates are, because some people are like worried about, oh, the rates are too high, or they're like waiting for it to drop, but telling them a reason why it's a good time to invest right now. Like I learned from Heather, one of the agents, she's saying that when she talks to her clients about like what the rates are and stuff, she's like, if you buy right now, maybe you're paying for easy math, like you're paying 1,000 more in your monthly mortgage because of the rates are too high. But if you invest in like 6 months, you spend 6,000 more in your mortgage. But in the long run, since it's like an election year, the rates are going to drop, so more people are going to start buying, so the house value is going to go up. So technically, you made like 40K from your house, even though you invested $6,000 more than you wanted to in those 6 months. So it's like, is it a good option to buy right now, and then helping those clients understand why it is a good time to buy instead of telling them that the rate's super high, you should wait for the rates to drop.
I love it.
Also, maybe this is like a question. What do I say when they talk about seller financing? Is that something that affect my commission as an agent, or how does that work?
Good question.
Or my
So,
work?
yeah, seller financing would be a huge topic for us to dive into. I've done multiple of them, and honestly, it's a great tool, right? It's a great tool for a lot of sellers. It's a great tool for a lot of buyers. As interest rates lower, it will again get harder and harder to do seller financing because you don't get the benefit, Like, so I've helped some of my sellers sell on seller financing, and they've sold at a 4.5% interest rate. And back in the day when it was 7, that sounds pretty cool to be at a 4.5 for a few years, right? They were also, I was able to get them 20 or 30 grand more on their house than what the comps were right next door because the monthly payment changes. So that's the same kind of example of figuring it out. And yes, you can get paid on seller financing. You just have to structure it right. So if you have something that comes up, you're going to want to reach out to someone who's done it. So you could reach out to me. You could ask Dean. I bet Susie has enough of awareness around it, right? Like to when you guys are doing your coaching appointments. There's definitely a lot of knowledgeable people here in the office who understand it enough. So don't shy away from it, but you will learn a lot. Okay, how am I using conversations? Well, actually, to go back to this, I wanted to add one more thing. Some reasons I might have for contacting a lead. I always joke because I have people all the time who tell me, and I'm like, oh, I feel like awkward to call the person from high school that I haven't talked with in 3 years. And I always laugh and I'm like, well, here's the thing. The beauty is you just got into a business where you can now be a better friend. And you can even use that as your dumb excuse and be like, hey, I'm really excited because getting into this industry has made me realize that I have not been a very good friend or communicator with you. And this is going to like get me to the spot where I want to stay in touch and know what's going on in life. So yes, at the right time, I can help you out and be a better friend, right? It's funny because you can pose it in a certain way. I posed it as a joke, depending on how my relationship was with the person in the past. But there's a lot of ways that you can reach out. And sometimes you don't even have to have a reason, right? Just reaching out to stay in touch and say, hey, I just want to check back in. You know that this is what I do. How have you been? Right? Just making sure that you do that and get on that part. Okay, how am I using conversations to let the person know I am in real estate? How to contact me and how to refer me business? Thoughts around this?
Kind of what I was doing or using as my like conversation starter would be like when I was calling my SOI, I would let them know like how are they doing and stuff. And since I just graduated, my script would be like, are you working now or are you like still studying? Are you in college now? And it'll let me know what they're doing. Or they're like, oh, I'm studying or something. And like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I just got my real estate license. So I was just wondering in the future if you or any of your friends or family are interested in buying or selling in real estate, and then they'll let me know if they do have anyone or if they've ever thought about it. And so that's how I would end up bringing in real estate, was them asking me what am I doing, and then that's how I started telling them about real estate.
Sweet. I love it. All right. When is the best time for me and my business to time block for lead follow-up? And this is a personal question, right? When is the best time for you to do your lead follow-up?
Um, So with mine is I do it earlier in the day or in the afternoons because when I'm door knocking, I know door knocking the best time is from 12 to 4 around that time. And so I try to organize it around door knocking. So if I have like CMA appointments and stuff that I set up, then I try to set up the CMA appointments from like 4 later so I can do the lead gen, I mean like the calling and stuff before and during the day. So like from 10 to 11 and then go door knock. And then if I have any CMA appointments, I would do it in the afternoon from like 3 to 4.
Sweet. For me personally, I've kind of stuck with the 9 to 10 is when I dedicate that 1 hour just to my follow-up. And if I can do that every day, I don't always hit, but if I can do that every single day, then I'm doing a really good job on my follow-up and my contacts of just staying in touch with people. Hey, last question, because this right here is that one that really nails it and boils it down. How much time should it take you to reach out to your lead, right? What will you do to hold yourself accountable? And what do I need to do to make sure this happens, right?
With like each person, I feel like no more than 10-15 minutes. You don't want to take too much time on one person because if you're trying to like do your like time block of following up with people in an hour, if you're doing 10, 15 or 20 minutes with each person, you're only gonna be able to call like 4 to 5 people. And so like you want to do it not super quick where it just feels like you're just calling them just for business, but
Mhm.
not super long where it's taking up most of your time block. So yeah, you just got to control like the conversation with the person.
Good. So my question then is, how do you hold yourself accountable to making sure that you're actually staying in touch with people?
Oh, that's a good. I'm not sure about that one. Hmm. I don't like I just I'm like very disciplined, so I know like I have to do stuff if I want my business to grow or like if I want to keep growing, and then I know I have to do it. So like for me, I just feel like guilt if I don't do it. Like, oh, I just wasted my day, not like wasted my time doing something that I should have not done instead of like lead genning or doing stuff to like help my business grow. And so for me, it's just like I just know that if I don't do it, then later during the day, I'm like, oh, I just wasted all that time and didn't do anything. And so
Yeah,
for me, it's like just a waste of time if I don't, and I'm not doing stuff to help myself grow.
cool. Anyone else?
Yeah, I understand that the productivity coaching is gonna
Hmm.
take us to the third or even fourth transaction. So for me, it has been amazing, like to join and learn, and it's really quick. And when I start having clients or deals, right? I think it's gonna be amazing to be able to report that kind of things. For now, I am beginning, but I hope that happens soon.
I love it. Okay, good. Yeah, and honestly, being in a coaching program like you guys are on the productivity team definitely is a great way to have and give permission to the person to hold you accountable, right? Because even though like you're on a team and there's those spots where they talk about things, if you're not giving permission and giving it so that you're going to like commit, then it's not going to be that effective either, right? But ultimately, that's probably the best situation that you can be in is with other people who are looking over your business and that you've let them hold you accountable because you have a goal.
What do you do to keep yourself accountable?
For me, that's a good question. So for me, I hold myself accountable by a lot of ways. One, I do have a coach because I am on a team,
Yeah.
right? So I do have a coach who looks and reviews over things and chastises me when I don't do things right. Also, I have the systems set up in place, and I do not like having it where I have a whole bunch of tasks to do. So for me, just getting on like when I get on every day and go through those tasks and reviewing things, that by itself is an accountability aspect of being, hey, am I caught up on where and what I need to do? So, but it's just for me, it was creating the systems around what does that look like, right? So good. And that's where I feel like these different things that come in are very much for you to go through and say, hey, how do I systematize my life and my business to make it so that this follow up happens in that way? Right. And that's why I love that you guys have so far brought up the 36 touch multiple times, because this right here kind of gets you to that spot where, hey, how are you really helping that person out in that way? This right here's the 19 to connect, right? So how expensive is calling someone 4 times?
Zero.
Well, not really, but I mean, right? You're already paying for your phone.
Oh, yeah.
We already know that's not going to go like away. So yes, I would say 0 is a good number to put in there, right? Okay, good. 12, right? Emails, free. What about the birthday card?
$2 maybe.
Right? You're not going to be a whole lot. Okay, good. The market reports, good. I'm glad you guys you already have that in the package that you do with being here, right? 4 information videos. Okay, depending on what you have to do. 2 informative emails. All right, emails were pretty easy, right? 1 neighborhood newsletter. If you have it through command, right, then that's pretty easy. The next one is where it could add a little bit depending on what you did. If you did an annual calendar, right? Okay, you have to figure out what's the cost of that per calendar and be sending that out. Local sports team schedule. That's just an example. You don't have to go do that, right? But those are good examples of saying, hey, what's that keepable and what and where does that work so that you can really build that. And then the event, organize, and that's an interesting one too, organize neighborhood park cleanup, right? Doing a movie theater and having all these people come. There is an expense to that, but that's what you need to figure out and say, hey, how and what can I do? And like I said at the beginning, and I'm not joking, even if you only do those 4 phone calls and you do that religiously, that by itself will put you in a good spot. Everything else after that's just going to improve that percentage even more. But if you don't do that 4 phone calls, in my opinion, and you do everything else, your numbers your percentage isn't going to be as good as if you did the phone calls.
So like, you know how like KW has those like Halloween event and like the summer splash whatever event. How much are those events cost? Like,
great question. So I know every year it slightly changes because of inflation, right? But overall, it depends on how many people you bring. So if you have 100 people that you're working on and it is $6 per person you bring in, right? Then you're paying $600, right? Which, if you can make sure that because of that event with your 4 phone calls, you built the right relationship with those 100 people. Does anyone know and this is getting to the 36 touch part, but does anyone know the ratio on what Gary Keller said you should be able to get out of a solid database of 36 touch?
isn't it like the 80% that you like 80% of the work that you do, you get 20% in return?
Okay, I love it. I love that you brought up the 80-20 principle. Not the numbers that Gary Keller would say, though. It's actually pretty close, though, which is funny. But in the Red Book, what it talks about is, oh man, am I gonna get it wrong? Yeah. I need to go double check my number. It's been a while since I've quoted this number. I want to say it's 2 out of 24. The reason he does it 2 out of 24 is because 1 of those 24 should be because somebody in your database is closing. So it should be 1 of those people. The other 1 of the 24, so 1 out of 12, double check me. You'll remember. For some reason, I just blanked on the stat. Is it 2 out of 24 in the Red Book from 36 Touch?
2 out of 12.
2 out of 12. Huh. Okay. I was like, in my head, I was like, that seems too high, but I all of a sudden spaced and 2 out of 12. So yeah, that means that 1 of them should be from a referral and 1 of those should be from the database itself. So that friend or family that you have. That's where that 2 of the 12 come from. But that's after you've created and done it well. A good example is, for example, on our team, so the Red Sign team, we have an ISA division who has over 1,000 people that they do a 36 touch with on the team database, right? Even though we did the 36 touch for 1 whole year, and this is a little different because you got to remember, these are now people who this person, the ISA doesn't have a relationship directly with, right? It's all that way. We got 1 deal of it from last year. But we're already this year starting to see that go up drastically because that connection has been made, and those phone calls have been made now for a year. So that's where I tell people this right here, even though that 2 out of 12 number is very, very accurate if you do it at a high level, it does take you some time to get those people to perform at that level, because it's just how it is. People don't earn trust with you usually over the first phone call, right? It's a relationship game, and a relationship has to be earned, right? And then stayed on top of. So that's where this right here, you can do it pretty cheaply to make it so that you are standing and have that relationship built. If you're, of course, doing it with people that you already know, that number should start off even better, right? Than what I just told you about the ISA division, but kind of interesting. Okay, make an impact. So this right here is, how do you focus on value? It was one of those questions that we talked about. It was, okay, what's the reason? And Erica, you brought this up. What are the reasons that I should be calling them, right? You should be calling them for any of these reasons right here. It's a value proposition of saying, hey, I want to add value to your life, right? You got to figure out how and what you want to do there. It's a personal communication. It's just the thing that I was telling you about. Hey, if you're telling people you just want to be a better friend and you're happy because your job is forcing you to do that. And that's a joke in ways, but if you have to do that right? But at the same time, it's true. If you can now say, hey, great, how was your trip to Hawaii? Like, I saw that you went. I absolutely love Hawaii. It's been a while, but what have you, blah, 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 right? Or something that a lot of people love, not everyone, but it is a value, is statistics and data. And this goes back to your rate question, your rates, right? People are interested. It's one of those conversations that people like talking about real estate, right? So if you bring up and talk about the statistics and give them a chance to talk about that, a lot of people will thoroughly find that as valuable. So, okay, and this right here is different ones where you can get leads. I'm not going to go in depth with this because hopefully that was the last ones that you went in, right? You've now been talking about different methods that you could do. I'm a strong believer in that if you had to choose and you had to choose 3 things that you were doing, the very most important thing that one of them should be is your 36 touch. Because if you're doing your 36 touch correctly, and we'll get into that more, that right there is going to give you longevity in this business. And then you need to figure out the other 2, and that's where you kind of look at this. I know you, for example, you chose door knocking as one of those, right? Having that 1 or 2, like, you're okay with even just 1 if you like do it effectively enough and really dedicate to it. But that right there is, how do you continue to build that database and build it so you have more leads to go on this whole system? Okay. Any questions? Ahaz, questions?
So with like the MREA, like with reading it, I noticed that Gary Keller was like really like strict on, not strict, but like suggests that you build a foundation before you start experimenting on like building your business, because then it'll be more of a hobo shack instead of an actual house if you like build that foundation, right? And so building that like 2 to 3 sources of your lead gen will help you grow that business, and focusing on improving on those like first 2 at the beginning so you're like really good at it, and then start expanding to different lead gens will help you build that foundation. So you always have that 1 or 2 like go-to ones that you're really good at while you're growing the other lead gens that you're doing.
Correct.
And so yeah, that's why I've been doing door knocking, and because since I have door knocking experience and I actually enjoy it a lot. And I've gotten a lot more lead gen these last like 2.5 weeks doing door knocking than I have trying to do open houses and other methods of doing it. And my SOI is just a lot of 19, 20-year-olds. So it's like they're gonna buy in the future, but not right now because they're still studying or like building their business, So
Correct.
so I'm still keeping that 36 touch on them so they keep remembering of me and like having a good relationship with them. So in the future when they do want to buy, then they'll think of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, door knocking's been helping me with that. And I learned from like these last few Ignite sessions that I didn't realize, but people like you can reach out to other agents that are in different like counties, like maybe Davis County, that have referrals that they're giving out to people out here in Utah County that are moving out here that don't want to drive all the way out here to do like a listing or a sale. reaching out to those agents or out-of-state agents as well and having a relationship with them. So like that will help get lead gen as well from building a foundation with agents as well will be really helpful.
And that's the thing, if you look at this list, so I appreciate you bringing it up. There are so many ways, and you really should focus in and figure out, hey, what's my one on top of 36 touch, your SOI, or maybe two, right? And really just make sure that you get good at those, because it is true. Like I always envision the triangle, right? Build that foundation versus the upside down triangle where it's like, hey, that whole thing. Yeah. Good. Other ahas.
Yes, thank you so much. I missed other classes, so I'm kind of lost, but I am getting there.
Perfect. Yep. And just keep on coming as many times as you need, because that's the thing is
Yes.
like nice because this does go through it. So I know a lot of people even recommend like do Ignite more than once.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
gonna say, I actually have gone through Ignite 3 times. This is like my third time going through it, and like Angie always says, like it takes 6 to 7 times to you have to hear something 6 to 7 times for you to like actually understand it, and so just keep coming to them, and you're gonna learn a lot from it every time. Even if it's a class you already went to, you're still gonna learn a lot from the second time going through it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, and I love that they are recorded. So yes, I'm trying to catch up, but I I heard that you can do it multiple times.
Love it. Love it. Any other ahas? Hey, perfect. All right, so this right here is the next part. So post-lead follow-up. And you'll kind of notice this right here is actually from the MRE2, which I love. And it continues to just continue to, hey, how do we improve upon the systems that are already there? And the systems that are already there are really strong. But this right here is where it's going into that cement, that one touch. And it's really, what's that one touch that brings somebody over from being a lead, somebody who's just a warm body, to somebody who now realizes, hey, you are my first or second agent. I throw the second in there on purpose, right? But it's they know that like when you call, they know who you are. They now know and have some form of a connection with you. What is the one thing that you need to do to cement that relationship to get it so that it goes from a lead to an existing strength and relationship? And the fun thing is, I mean, unless you met them from door knocking, sometimes you might not even seen these people in person, right? If everything happened over digital for so long and phone calls, like it could totally be a relationship that you still don't even know what they look like, right? But that's what we're going to dive into for a quick second. And this right here is really that one value, high touch, and kind of what it looks like. Oh, I didn't even go into it. This right here, though, can be a whole bunch of different things. I a lot of times even see it as some of those promotional direct ones that it talked about in the 19 touch. It could be something that you give them. It could be something like that. Honestly, you just need to feel like you've built enough of a relationship and done something enough that they remember you when you're calling to add them and feel like, hey, they should probably be on 36 touch and move up to that next level. You just need to think of what that is, what's that right thing that you're doing to have done that good connection to move them on. Okay. So this right here is kind of what you need to do. And this is what the class always is about, right? Is what are you learning and taking away in order to get to that next level? How is it changing your thinking? How do you feel differently about making those phone calls? I know that some people have a hard time making phone calls, right? So how do you make sure that what you've learned and seen now that helps you get closer to making, hey, I'm going to jump into this next part of making my phone calls? What are the actions that you're going to take because of how you feel differently, right? And that last thing, what tools have you seen so far that Keller Williams has brought you that you can implement to be more purposeful, right? E to P. So I actually want to go back to this because it's interesting thinking about the psychology of what goes on in your brain. And you guys have maybe already gone into this. But for the first thing that you do a lot of times is you have to go through that thought process and learning about something, but you usually don't take action until that thought process can get to your feelings, right? So when you're thinking about these things, if you're staying just straightly in the educational learning aspect, think about what it could do for you, how it's going to change your life, and those kind of things, how it's going to affect other people's lives, so you can get to the feeling of, hey, I want to change, improve, grow, get to that right spot, because that's the only way that you are going to get to a good, solid action point. Which is just fascinating. That's really cool that they have it set up that way but yeah. Okay, success system. Ooh, okay. Actually, well, we might end early just depending on kind of where I'm at. But this right here, you guys report this to Angie every day, right?
Uh, some people do it daily. I don't know if everybody does it, but usually like every Thursday when we do like the productivity meeting thing, that's when she goes and asks us like
Perfect.
how much people have to talk to this week and stuff like that.
Cool. But this right here is really the cornerstone, right? You can already see this is having it where you have to go out and have conversations. This is adding it so you're having a database. This is the 10 written notes are really that whole excuse to do something that is a physical an addition to cement, right? Social media, we are living more and more in a world of social media. When I went through this 10 years ago, social media was a thing, but it's not something that we talked about, right? This right here is where then we have enrichments, right? You guys are kind of going through all this process with Angie, so I'm not going to go dive into detail, but I really hope that you're taking this into heart so that you're implementing it on a constant basis.
Can I just add one quick thing to this?
Would love it.
So I remember when I first joined, they would talk about this, but it was hard for me to track like how much people I talked to this day, this day, this day, and like keeping it for like the week, whatever. And so just recently, since when I started door knocking, it's okay, I need to figure out a way how to like keep like track of the people I'm talking to. And so doing Google Sheet and like putting like the date of the day and then like how much people you talked to, how much people you got their like information from and all that just to keep the information with you. And then at the end of the week, doing like the math of like how much people I talked to in total that week and then like on average how much people I got their contact info and stuff. That will help you see like your progress and like how much you're growing in your like SOI and your contact list. So that will help you out a lot. Because I remember when I first joined, I was like, I don't remember how much people I talked to, or like, I didn't keep track of it. I would just like count the ones that I remember who I talked to and forget like in total how much people I talked to. So doing like a Google sheet or something that will keep you um on track on like what how much people you reached out to will help a lot.
Good. Okay. And they always put this in here now because there's, of course, lots of stuff. So you've seen this multiple times. Don't call the do not call list. Okay. This right here, good quote. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. Okay. You need to kind of get to that point where you're willing and ready to have the right thing. So the next part's role play. With us being majority over Zoom, I'm going to not have it be this one right now. The biggest thing is I've tried to give you a couple scripts, just that, that you can use. Overall, it's, hey, what are some spots? And I know that there's a lot of good tools out there that Keller Williams has. Go look at some of them. Look into Connect and have it where you say, hey, how and what different videos can I look at to see how some other people do awesome scripts and practice it. Yep. How often do you guys end early?
It's pretty like usually they end by like 11. and it says like 11:30. So yeah.
10:30 is fitting for me. I'm short, so you know.
I mean, it's also I've never been in a class where only one person shows up to the Ignite, so it's like this never happened. So I don't blame you like ending early because there's only one person in person.
Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, so we're going to continue on this on Monday because this is where we get to get into the next part of follow-up. So I look forward to see you guys. I would love it, of course, if you guys can make it in person, but we'll continue to have it how it is. So thanks for coming on, everyone. Go out there and make your